The multi-phased process of spiritual awakening in the age of psychological manipulation. Introduction. The concept of being woken up in a spiritual sense has evolved in modern times to encompass not only metaphysical or religious enlightenment, but also an awakening to the mechanisms of control posed by power structures. This awakening is not instantaneous. It occurs in phases, initially triggered by deception, then maturing into awareness, and ultimately evolving into liberation. In this report, we explore the multi-layered process of spiritual awakening, focusing especially on the interplay between psychological manipulation and the deeper spiritual journey. Phase 1. The engineered awakening. In the first phase, individuals are woken up, not through genuine insight, but by engineered narratives constructed by the establishment, governments, intelligence agencies, and psychological warfare units. This is a counterfeit awakening, designed to catch the mind off guard. Bait and switch tactics. Agencies deploy controversial topics, such as UFOs, secret space programs, false flag alien invasions, not to inform, but to capture attention. These narratives often carry an emotional charge, acting as fishing hooks to pull individuals into a controlled stream of thought. Symbolic implantation. Through media, entertainment, and covert influence campaigns, symbols and phrases are implanted repetitively into the subconscious, akin to Pavlov's conditioning of dogs. These symbols become internal triggers that guide emotional and behavioral responses. Controlled opposition. Many figures who appear to be revealing the truth are themselves part of the manipulation. Agents of chaos who simultaneously blame external actors, for example, elites, secret societies, while steering the viewer toward pre-approved conclusions. This phase leaves the individual disoriented, believing they have awakened, while unknowingly operating within a new layer of the matrix. Phase 2. Realizing the manipulation. The second awakening is more painful but essential. It is the moment when the individual becomes conscious not only of the falsehoods being propagated, but also of the psychological mechanisms used to ensnare them. Recognition of psychological warfare. This stage involves understanding that the so-called truths that first woke them up were part of a psychological operation. The emotional highs and moral outrage were carefully cultivated to destabilize inner clarity, mental deprogramming. Here, individuals begin questioning not only the mainstream narrative, but also the alternative narratives. They re-evaluate what they've accepted, recognizing patterns of emotional manipulation, confirmation bias, and fear-based programming, spiritual shock, and inner conflict. This realization often leads to an existential crisis. The individual experiences deep betrayal, not just from institutions, but from within themselves, for having believed and spread disinformation. This initiates a collapse of ego structures. It is only by enduring this collapse that true spiritual growth can begin. Phase 3. Spiritual integration and transcendence. This is the phase where the awakening becomes truly spiritual, not merely intellectual or political. Inner centering. The individual begins to seek inward, rather than outward. Truth is no longer something to be consumed, but to be experienced. Practices like meditation, contemplation, and conscious detachment take root. Discernment versus reaction. With clarity comes discernment. The awakened soul no longer reacts emotionally to psychological triggers, but instead observes. The hooks no longer work. Transcendence of duality. Beyond blame and manipulation, there is understanding. Many realize that even the deceivers are caught in their own cycles of control and fear. True awakening leads to forgiveness, balance, and a desire to help others navigate their own path. Conclusion. Spiritual awakening in the modern era is not just about light. It begins in deception and shadow. To be woken up first by the tools of manipulation is not a failure, but an initiation. It is only when the veil of engineered narratives is lifted that one can begin the authentic journey towards spiritual clarity and freedom. The key is to never stop questioning, not just the world, but your own mind. Only then does the real awakening begin.